So in Agile 4, KE-chain is used as the operational collaborative environment. KE-chain is basically a cockpit to use a lot of the available technologies in the Agile 4 project. When you log in this example, I'm going to log in as an architect. You'll see a personal overview of projects that you are assigned to. At the moment, I'm only assigned to a single project. If I navigate to this project, I get a nice landing page and I can see the design studies that are associated to this project. I have one design study associated to this project that's assigned to me that I am able to see. Within a design study, you have in KE-chain access to various steps in the Agile 4 development process. So the first step is about the system identification and specification. So you see the use case models. We can navigate to the architecting part. You see an element of design competences. What are my available simulation models, inputs, outputs, etc. And then we come really to the realm of system design and optimization, automatically generating workflows using Agile 4 technology, and finally the execution part. We can also use the side menu to navigate within the design study. So let's start with the use case models. So here KE-chain has interfaces to manage the use case models, like for example stakeholders, needs, scenarios, requirements, etc. If I navigate to the stakeholders and needs, you will see that there are tables. For example, a stakeholders overview. Here the user can add stakeholders or inspect existing stakeholders or edit stakeholders. If I click, for example, on OEM, you can also see the ID of this stakeholder. You can see whether it's linked to needs and what are these linked needs. You can also use the search panel to actually filter. This applies actually to all data tables in KE-chain. If I navigate to the needs overview, you will see the inverse relation where you see the stakeholder needs, and in the column stakeholder you see the stakeholders that are linked to the needs. A need will be linked to a requirement. So through KE-chain you can click through all this detail. So if I click, for example, on the need reliable suppliers, you'll see that service roughness apparently is one of the associated requirements to this need. And then you can see all the details of this requirement. You can also see which test case is associated to it and other information if it is provided. I can manage requirements to the requirements page, and here you'll see that the requirements overview. Again, manageable through tables. Every table you can also export to Excel or import from Excel if you want through the KE-chain platform. There are scripts added in KE-chain in this template such that you can verify this use case model for consistency underneath rules following principles by INCOs, for example, are used to check whether all the use case models are complete and consistent. And you will also see warnings, for example, if there are needs that are not linked to any other models, like for example a need is not linked to any scenarios, or there are needs that are not linked to requirements. Those are warnings. If I go back to the dashboard of the use case models, you can also export all this KE-chain data into MBSE tools such as Papyrus. So on platform you can generate Papyrus models or generate Capella models, which will get all the data from KE-chain and give you below a downloadable file that you can import into that system, so for further inspection and detailing out. Next, in KE-chain you will see that it can also be used to, that KE-chain also hosts platforms for system architecting other Agile 4 technology, like the ADOR library and the MultiLinQ libraries. applications, developed by the DLR. So those come into play for the logical and physical architecture. So KE-chain has embedded the Adore editor. Through here you could log in again with the credentials that you would also log into KE-chain, and then the Adore editor is embedded straight into the KE-chain interface, and underneath it also uses the data that is specified in KE-chain as a starting point, and all the Adore projects are also stored in KE-chain. The same applies to the mapping of architectures to MDO, where MultiLinQ is used. Again, I can log in with my KE-chain credentials into MultiLinQ, and here you'll see that I can import data that is coming straight from this KE-chain project. So these tools are now imported into MultiLinQ, and the data is coming from KE-chain. Here you saw the tools: aerodynamics, constraints, objective performance, propulsion. Those are imported from the design competence library that is part of this KE-chain project. This gives you a descriptive overview of the different design competence tools that are in scope. So this design study is about optimizing a supersonic business jet, which has several disciplinary components like an aerodynamic analysis, a performance analysis, propulsion analysis, a structural analysis. And for each of those tools, the input and the output file definitions are, or XML definitions, are uploaded to KE-chain. Using these input and output XML files underneath the KADMOS library developed by the TU Delft, can import the tools and generate a FISTMS, and an interactive FISTMS which shows you the tools, the inputs and outputs of the tools, and how they interact. Again, the script to validate this model repository is executed on the KE-chain server and has the KADMOS Python library integrated under the hood, and also FISTMS is basically embedded as a real-time inspectable graphical user interface from KE-chain. Using these tools, you can generate a workflow. There are several steps and several data involved in specifying a executables MDO workflow. This workflow can be specified through KE-chain either with KADMOS as a library or MDAx as a tool. For KADMOS, you need to complete several steps first before you can update a workflow architecture. You have to specify an execution order through KE-chain. So this can be automatically derived for you, or you can manually change the function order. Here you can also see that you can change the implementation type through KE-chain. For KE-chain tables, you can specify parameter roles. So for example, define the design variables, including nominal values, lower bounds, upper bounds. For example, I now opened the design variable aspect ratio. What's also very important is that you link it through an actual parameter that is part of your data schema. So the aspect ratio, as you can see, is linked to now a specific XPath, a specific node in the XML file. This can be done for more design variables, but besides that, you can also specify your objective variables, state variables, and constraint variables through tables. I'm going to skip ahead to the workflow architecture. So through KE-chain, you specify what is the MDO architecture I want to impose on my problem, like MDF, IDFs, or other DOE kind of architectures. If you have the ability for coupling decomposition, if you have feedback loop, you can specify how you want it to be coupled. All this input will be fed into KADMOS under the hood again if I call the script update workflow architecture. So here now a script, a Python script is called and executed on platform, which gets all the data from KE-chain that we have just specified. It will determine a function order again. It will create several graphs in the background through KADMOS, add the parameter roles, impose the workflow architecture, and finally we can see the results appearing through a series of systems graphs. Which shows you the connectivity now of the workflow where the actual problem definition is going to be imposed. Now, if the workflow architecture is generated, it's still running, but it will be soon finished. You can go to the execution part. Here you can download a executable commandos file from the KE-chain platform. KE-chain will also host a whole history of executable workflows here. I can sort this table by timestamp, so I'm going to pick the one that I generated now, the latest one. You can download the commandos file, open RCE or another Pido tool that is capable to work with the commandos files. And you can start to execute the workflow from there. So this is KE-chain in a nutshell. It's a web-based collaborative environment which manages all the design study data that you need in Agile 4. It has underneath the Agile 4 methodology, the 5 steps implemented there. It has various technologies developed in Agile 4 integrated within the system. And besides that, it's accessible, like I said, through the internet. It's web-based. You can manage your permissions, so you can collaborate together with different users within your design team in a similar study.